بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So now we come to a new era in the history of Islamic legislation, and that new era is called Ahdul A'immat al-Thalatha, the era of the three Imams. What do we mean by the three Imams, my friends? After Imam Ali, who are the three Imams? Al-Imam al-Hasan, Al-Imam al-Hussein, Al-Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein. So Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, their era lasted for 2 decades after their father. 2 decades.
So do they overlap with, or
Yeah.
you would consider
They-
separate with the
With Imam Zayn al-Abidin, they overlap. Salaam alaikum.
No, I mean Imam Ali.
No. Imam Ali, his era is independent because he was the Imam during his time. So his children would not, yes, they support the father, but they don't work independent from the father. So they divided the period of legislation into the Prophet's time, Imam Ali's time, and then the three Imams after Imam Ali, and then Imam al-Baqir and al-Sadiq. So the three Imams are Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam. This era of the two Imams, Hassan and Hussein, lasted for almost 20 years, from year 40 until 61 Hijri. And then this one lasted almost 35 years. So this is 20 years, this one. This is 35 years. So from 61 until 95 Hijri, or 34 years. This era, specifically this one and that one, the era of Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, was characterized by what? By oppression. By oppression, and they tried to silence the voice of Ahlul Bayt at any cost. Muawiyah was heading the Muslim community, unfortunately, led by Muawiyah. And Muawiyah tried through several means, military, political, economic, social, media, propaganda, to silence the voice of Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So very few ahadith are narrated and documented from these two Imams. Very few. When it comes to legislation, maybe the fewest ahadith are the ahadith of Imam Hassan and Hussein. Why? The largest one, Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq. The smallest one, Imam Hassan and Hussein. Why? Huh? Too much oppression, and too much taboo and persecution, and they silenced the Imams. They silenced them, and they persecuted their followers. It was a period of political turmoil. So in the exam, when you are asked, you have to mention, because it was a period of political turmoil, and that era was characterized by oppression and persecution against Ahlul Bayt. So you hardly see hadiths. There are, of course, not that we don't have at all, but we have little compared to Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq. We have very little. Why the largest one? If you look at the books of hadith in the Shia library, who is number one Imam that you see his hadiths everywhere? Number one Imam. Imam al-Sadiq. Why? University, and also why they established the university?
Because he was allowed to.
Huh?
He was allowed to be able to.
How was he allowed? They just told him, well, we love you, so you are free? Or for, huh? Exactly, transition of power between the Umayyads and the Abbasids, and they were busy killing each other. Busy killing each other. So they didn't have time to persecute Ahlul Bayt because they were busy fighting over the seat of the Khilafah. So Imam al-Sadiq took advantage of this, people being the tyrants, Khulafa of Bani Umayyah and Bani al-Abbas, busy killing each other. So he launched his project. Not because they gave him a freedom and they said willingly they gave him a freedom. No, it's not. But that was not the case during Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. In fact, the tension reached its peak during the time of Imam Hassan between the forces of darkness led by Muawiyah and his cronies in Sham and elsewhere, because Muawiyah assumed the Khilafah, unfortunately. And he spent so much money on anti-Ahlul Bayt propaganda. This is why we don't see much hadiths narrated by Imam Hassan and Hussein. There are, but we did not get them. We didn't get them because there was no freedom. Those two Imams were crushed and their heritage were crushed. But then after the tragedy of Ashura on 61, the martyrdom of Imam Hussein on 61 Hijri in Karbala, Banu Umayyah felt embarrassed. And they were exposed to the Muslim Ummah that they are the enemies of the Prophet and his family. Because of this embarrassment, they had to let Ahlul Bayt go. They gave them some freedom. And who was at that time, who succeeded Imam Hussein? Imam Zayn al-Abidin, his son. Because in Karbala he was only 22. He was only 22. But he lived 35 years after that, or 34 years after his father Imam Hussein, till the year 95 Hijri. Because they were embarrassed, Ahlul Bayt, they did this damage, they were embarrassed Bani Umayyah and they did this damage to Ahlul Bayt, so they pretended that we are not going to touch them anymore and we felt sorry for what happened to them, so just leave them alone, leave them alone. No more persecution. This is why 1 year after the revolution of Imam Hussein in Karbala, in year 62, what happened in year 62? Major event. No, Mukhtar 65. Major event happened. This is Karbala. This is Karbala. Medina. This is exactly. So this is the event of Al-Harra. Al-Harra, the battle of Al-Harra, where they attacked Medina and they made it free zone for 3 days. 3 days. Medina is free for you, oh my soldiers. You can do whatever you want to do, and I don't want to go into details because it's very painful what happened even inside the mosque of the Prophet. Al-Harra, Al-Harra, Waqi'atul Harra. If you check it in the history, Al-Harra, not Hurra, Hurra is free. Harra, Harra. Waqi'at Al-Harra, Waqi'at. Waqi'a means event. Al-Harra, Al-Hara. Al-Harra, not Al-Hurra. Hurra means free. It's just where the army of Sham stationed before they attacked the city of Medina. So during that, Assalamu alaikum, during that event, Yazid sent, because why this event took place? Because the people of Medina announced that Yazid is no longer a caliph, we don't even recognize him, and they revolted against him. Revolution in the streets. Do you see revolutions in the streets? And the governor of Medina ran away. So Yazid sent an army to crush those people. But he said to him, don't touch Imam Ali Zain al-Abidin. Respect him. Because no more tragedy after Karbala. We don't want to create more catastrophe. And when Marwan was the governor, Marwan ibn al-Hakam, the vicious enemy of Ahlul Bayt. He was the governor of Medina. So when the people revolted and started burning their homes, the homes of the governor and his cronies, he brought his family to Imam Zain al-Abidin seeking refuge. He said, Yabna Rasulullah, I have nowhere to go. I leave my wife, my children with you. Imam Zain al-Abidin said, that's okay. Can you imagine? He gave refuge to someone who murdered Imam Hassan. And he was very jubilant at the murder of his father, Imam Hussein. But yet, Imam Zain al-Abidin says, look, that's okay. Leave your family with me in my ranch. So Imam Zain al-Abidin protected the family of his vicious enemy, Marwan ibn al-Hakam. So Imam Zain al-Abidin had some freedom, and he came back from Karbala. And he was the first founder of the Islamic University that was followed after him by Imam Muhammad al-Baqir and ultimately by Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq. So during that era, the three Imams, which lasted about how many years? 55 years. 55 years. This is a period of 55 years. Okay? 20 years during the time of Imam Hassan and Hussein both, and 34 years or 35 years after, during the time of Imam Zain al-Abidin. So he started the university and he gathered the students in Medina, and then he was free to pass ulum, the ma'arif and the ulum and the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt to the masses. And he formally established the university. So the university started from his time. And therefore we have plenty of ahadith of Imam Zain al-Abidin. Compared to his father, Imam Hussein, and his uncle, Imam Hassan, they are less. Why? Because they crushed them. Whereas during the time of Imam Zain al-Abidin, there was some freedom. Not complete or absolute freedom, but some freedom compared to the time of Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. Some freedom. Yes?
During Karbala, Imam Zain al-Abidin was sick, right?
Yeah.
So after that.
Yeah, after
was
that.
Still sick?
No.
Even
Sick.
during all-
Sick, it's not a chronicle. It was, I don't know, flu, whatever. God wanted him to be sick so he would not go to the battlefield. So the Imams would continue after Imam Hussein. The Imam does not cease after Imam Hussein. So it was something temporary. No, he recovered after that. So, and then here, also here we see the two traditions that we spoke about. They were augmented and intensified during this era, especially the time of Imam Zain al-Abidin. What are they? What two traditions? The two traditions of, when it comes to legislation, we have two main traditions after the Prophet. The school of X, the school of Z or Y.
Text and opinions?
Huh?
Text and
Ahsant. Ijtihad, the school of Ra'i, and the school of Nas. Also, you can see examples of them here during this era that it was solidified. So the people of Ra'i, the people of opinion, insisted on their tradition, and the people of text and Nas, they would also preserve the text and the Nas. By the way, we will come to that era, inshallah, when we study Imam Muhammad al-Baqir and Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, and you will see that Abu Hanifa sometimes says, I know the Prophet said this regarding this event or this issue, but I have my own opinion. you know, in a gross violation of the Prophet's Sunnah, he says, but I have my own opinion. I know the Prophet has an opinion in this, but I have also my own opinion. We will come and see that, inshallah.
That's documented where, say?
I will give you, inshallah, the references so you have them. So your research is scientific, inshallah. And then Imam Zain al-Abidin lived during the era, his imamah, which is from 61 until 95. From 61 until 95, his imamah lasted 34 hours. And his contemporaries of the Khulafa, who were they? The first caliph during his time, his imamah.
Which Imam?
Imam Zain al-Abidin.
Well, the first one was Yazid.
Exactly. First one, Yazid ibn Muawiyah. After Yazid, when no, don't go. That's the Abbasite. After Yazid died, Yazid lasted 3.5 years. His son, what was his name? Muawiyah ibn Yazid. And after Muawiyah ibn Yazid,
The second Yazid?
huh?
Wasn't the Yazid?
Marwan ibn al-Hakam, I just mentioned him. Marwan ibn al-Hakam, okay? And then the children of Marwan, Ala Marwan. Do you read in the Ziyarah? Ala Ziyad wa Ala Marwan. So Marwan ibn al-Hakam, and then Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, and then Walid ibn Abdul Malik. So those are the family of Marwan. So, and he was poisoned during the time of Walid ibn Abdul Malik. Walid ibn Abdul Malik. Now, Imam Zain al-Abidin left us with a huge legacy. And of course, I will speak about his legacy, but among his famous students who studied under him in Medina are those. Write their names, please. First one is Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. Yes, under Imam Zain. Jabir is also one of the companions of the Prophet, but he became the student of Imam Zain al-Abidin. Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. This is number one. Number two student is Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib. Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib and Sa'id ibn Jubair, two iconic figures. Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib. Third, Sa'id ibn Jubair. They were iconic in their knowledge and in their piety and in their resistance to the regime of Bani Umayyah. And then also we have Al-Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. I mentioned about Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr yesterday. So Al-Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. Al-Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. You know, he's the grandfather of Imam al-Sadiq. Do you know that? His daughter, the daughter of Al-Qasim, Farwa, is the mother of Imam al-Sadiq. So Abu Bakr is the great-maternal grandfather of Imam al-Sadiq. Abu Bakr. So Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, what did I say about him last night? He was raised by Imam Ali because he was about 2 years old when his father died. So his mother was married to Imam Ali, Asma bint Umays, his mother. Imam Ali married her and he raised him. And he became like a son. And he was raised with Hassan and Hussein. And he has a very beautiful line. I love what he said. It means that he's dedicated to Ahlul Bayt. One day someone asked him, probably he was teasing him. He said, listen, in the battlefield, your father Ali, Imam Ali, Imam Ali, he, no, that's Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah. That's Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah. That is another son of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah is a son from not Fatima al-Zahra. So someone was teasing him. He said to him, Ya Muhammad, your father during the battle, he's generous in sending you to the battlefield. But with Hassan and Hussein, he's cautious. Why? Isn't this a discrimination? You are all his children. He said, no, this is not discrimination. Hassan and Hussein are his two eyes. I am his arm. So a man protect his eyes with his arm. To my father, I'm his arm. I represent his arms. But Hassan and Hussein are his eyes, and the eyes are more important than the arm. So definitely the man protects his eyes with his arms. Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr was very pious because he was raised. In the history, they call him Rabibul Imam Ali. Rabib means someone who was raised by Imam Ali, nurtured from Tarbiyah. Rabib from Tarbiyah. So his son Al-Qasim was a scholar, great scholar in Medina. His daughter is Farwa, is the wife of Muhammad al-Baqir, the mother of Ja'far al-Sadiq. Alayhim as-salam. Who else is a student of Imam Zain al-Abidin, my friends? You must remember that name. Because we read his du'as every Ramadan. Ahsant, Abu Hamza al-Thamali. Again, one of the Abu Hamza al-Thamali, one of the bright students of Imam Zain al-Abidin. Also, some Sunnis were his students who were not, they received knowledge from Ahlul Bayt, but in the fiqh tradition, they did not follow Ahlul Bayt. And that is Muhammad ibn Muslim az-Zuhari. Muhammad ibn Muslim az-Zuhari. I write his name. Muhammad ibn Muslim. Muhammad ibn Muslim ibn Shihab. His title is az-Zuhari. He died 124 Hijri, one of the Imams, and he studied under Imam Zain al-Abidin. And this man is a special. Why he's a special? Among the Sunni scholars, this guy is a special. This man was the very first man. You know, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz ruled from 99 till 101. 2 years. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz has been named or dubbed as what? What is his nickname in the history? He's Umawi. He's from Bani Umayyah. But he has been named as
He was considered more just.
Al-Khalifatul Adil. Because when he came to power, he said, we did so much abuse and injustice to Ahlul Bayt. We have to stop this. And one of the things he did, he returned the land of Fadak to the Talibiyin or Alawiyin, the children of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. And he did many reforms, but he didn't last. It was only 2 years. And then he died. And also, when it comes to legislation, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, please write his name because this is important. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. 99 through 101. When it comes to legislation, you all know that there was a ban on the secretion of the hadith after the wafat, the departure of the Prophet. You all know that, yes? We all know this or we don't? There was a ban on the inscription of the hadith. In the inscription of the hadith. No hadith should be written after the death of the Prophet. During the era of Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, until the time of Umar bin Abdul Aziz, 99. Imagine 8 years after the Prophet. 8 decades in the school of Sahaba. they had no right to write the hadith, to write it down. They had no right. It was banned and it was strictly punished. Especially during the time of Umar, he said, if I find someone writing the hadith, I will expel him, punish him and expel him out of town, send him into exile. What was the pretext, Omid? What was the reason?
He didn't want to confuse the writings with the Quran.
So people don't get busy writing the hadith and they forget about the Quran and the Quran is going to be lost. But this was not the case because many people had already memorized the Quran. And God says, "Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidun." Even if no one memorize it, we will protect it and preserve it. It was a political reason. They did not want people to know what the Prophet said. Period. So this man, when he came, he lifted the ban. He lifted the ban. Once he lifted the ban, this Sunni scholar, Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, was the very first Sunni scholar from the tradition of Sahaba who started documenting the hadith. أول من كتب الحديث في زمن عمر ibn Abdul Aziz. Okay? And he says about his teacher Imam Zayn al-Abidin, ما رأيت أفقه من علي ibn al-Husayn. I haven't seen in my life more learned in the field of jurisdiction than Imam Zayn al-Abidin. وما رأيت هاشميا أفضل من Ali ibn al-Husayn. I have never seen a Hashimi better than him, than Ali ibn al-Husayn. So what are the legacies of Imam Ali ibn al-Husayn? Who knows? The first legacy. Exactly, as-Sahifa as-Sajjadiyya, which had initially it had 52 du'as or 42 du'as. No, not 42. 54. 54 du'as. 54. But then later on, with more research, they found out that the Sahifa al-Sajjadiyya has much more du'as. And Sayyid Muhsin al-Amin al-Amili from Lebanon, who died about 70 years ago. He died 1371, now it's 1441. So what is the 70, yes? Sayyid Muhsin al-Amin. Do you know where he's buried? I've seen his grave. This is a great man. He has a big favor on the school of Ahl al-Bayt. No. He's buried when you go into the shrine of Lady Zainab in Syria, when you are entering the shrine, in this entrance, in the main entrance on the side. Because he lived in Damascus. He lived in Damascus. And he wrote a masterpiece. I have it at home with many volumes, probably 40 volumes. Big. I can show you it's not this size, it's a bigger size. A'yan al-Shi'a. A'yan al-Shi'a means the personalities and the leaders and the scholars of the Shia community. A'yan al-Shi'a by Al-Amili. Okay, Sayyid Muhsin al-Amin. So he compiled the rest of the du'as. Initially it was 54, it came to 182. That is the complete Sahifa al-Sajjadiyya. Because my friends, even Nahj al-Balagha, do you know that Nahj al-Balagha are not all the speeches and the letters of Imam Ali? Some of them are missing from Nahj al-Balagha. So people came after that and they added to it. So Sahifa al-Sajjadiyya is 182. And it could be even more than that. Even more than that. More than 182 du'as. And that is one of the best books of supplication. And it has not only du'as and spiritualities, but also among it, if you analyze it, it has also Islamic legislation, something to do with Islamic legislation. And after Sahif al-Sajjadiyah, what do we have, my friends? Huh? Risalatul Huquq. Risalatul Huquq. We have Risalatul Huquq, which is the treaties of rights. Risalatul Huquq, the treaties of right. How many rights he mentions? Each one of us people have 50 rights over them. So you have 50 types of responsibilities, each one. Begins with what? Haqqul who's number one? Huh? Haqqullah. Haqqullah. Number one is Haqqullah. The right of God upon you. The right of God. The right of the Prophet. The right of the Imam. The right of your father. The right of your mother. The right of your husband. The right of your wife. The right of your son. The right of your neighbor. The right of your co-worker. And ends with what? Number 50. So number one was Haqqullah, and number 50 is? The right of your eyes, the right of your arms. Who is the last one on the list? Beginning with God and ending with? Ahlul Dhimma, the non-Muslims. Someone who's not a Muslim living with you in the same society, he's not a Muslim, but he has a right upon you. You cannot say he's not a Muslim, let him go to hell. Can't say this. He has a right. He's a human being. And I wish the Westerners, they know what we have. They read what we have and how much we have to respect them in our book, in our Holy Quran, in the Hadith of the Prophet, in Risalatul Huquq. Ahlul Dhimma, they have rights. We have to leave them alone, practice their religion, freedom of going to church, to the temple. We cannot harass them. Yes?
Dhimma means non-Muslim? Or?
Dhimma means those non-Muslims who have a covenant with the Islamic government. So they came under the protection of the Islamic government. Islamic government has to protect them. Protect their neighborhoods, themselves, their children, their families, their places of worship. And they don't take them to military service. They are exempted. In return of what? Taxation. They pay money, but their kids are exempted from military service. Ahlul Dhimma. And then they have their own special court. Jews, Christians, Sabians, they have their own judicial system. They don't follow the Islamic judicial system. They have their own court system. Those are Ahlul Dhimma. Yes?
For instance, is Baha'i included in this?
There is a debate. Some countries do not recognize them. They say this is a political party. This is not a religious sect. Others, they say it's, we see them in the interfaith. In the interfaith community. But some countries do not recognize them because they say this is, and the Masonic movement, these are political, and Zionism, these are political movements, not religious movements. They were man-made.
Yes.
They are not people of book or they have a prophet. Man-made. Someone came and he established this to hurt this religion and that religion. So some scholars do not recognize them.
But they basically follow Zoroastrianism, that's called. They're very similar.
Similar, they also have passages from the Quran. I've seen it.
They are not happy about being in Iran, though, for sure.
Yeah, that's a political issue.
Oh.
So these are the two main legacies of Imam Zain al-Abidin. If you have time, I would urge you to have these two books at home, my friends. To have these two books at home, Sahif al-Sajjadiyya. It has been translated to English and other languages. Beautiful book. And also Risalat al-Huquq. Risalat al-Huquq. It preceded the Charter of the United Nations, Human Rights Charter, which was only 70 or something like that. This is 1400 years old charter that preserves the huquq. Inshallah, next session we're going to go into the eras which is very important of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir and Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq. It lasted from 95 until 148, the martyrdom of Imam al-Sadiq. This is the most critical period of this. The most critical period. Why? Why it is the most critical period?
They had time to develop the university with
Madahib were emerged and established. Before that, there is no Ja'fari, Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanafi, Hanbali, whatever. And by the way, the Sunnis are not four. The Sunnis had more than 100 madhab. But then, it's like the primaries in America, Democratic and Republican primaries. One after the other are eliminated until they send one candidate. The same thing happened with the madahib. They were more than 100. But by the time some of them didn't have money to continue the campaign, some of them lost interest, like Kamala Harris today, she quit the race. So then they became four. But they were much more than 100. More than 100. And the best book to read about this period, the really best book, very comprehensive, and it is translated to English, Al-Imam al-Sadiq wal-Madahib al-Arba'a. Al-Imam al-Sadiq wal-Madahib al-Arba'a. Imam al-Sadiq and the four sects. The author is Lebanese, a Lebanese scholar, Muhammad Jawad Mughniya. And if you are Sunni, you became Shia, you must read this book to know why you became Shia. You don't understand Shia Islam and the relationship of Shia Islam to others unless you really read this book, Imam al-Sadiq and the four schools of thought. Imam al-Sadiq and the four schools of thought.
When did he live?
Mughniya died probably 30 or 40 years ago. Yeah, contemporary, yeah. Yeah, the book, I think the book is 50 years old. I think the book is about 50 years old. Yes.
Is it in English or no?
It is. It has been translated. Check out Ansarian publication. Yeah, that is this is a very comprehensive study, and it's a must. For an intellectual Shia, this book is a must to be next to your, what they call it, the bed table. Huh? So you read in this book and you research, because there is a plenty of knowledge, plenty of history, and a plenty of facts that many people don't know them, unfortunately. Imam al-Sadiq, yes.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the last name again?
Mughniya. مغنية. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل